dream became our dream, really, and the dream of others who followed us.
Well, Genesis Christian College was founded in 1991, and our mission statement, as developed in those early days, says that we'll provide a high-quality education that develops a passion for lifelong learning and Christian character, and a desire to serve God in the wider community. And I'm proud to say that that mission statement that was true in those early days is still lived out and embraced today, 30 years on.
The vision was to do, in my mind, it was to do something different, exciting, and then we could build a school.
And the church in Stafford was getting a bit small. It had done its purpose, so what say we buy a property that is big enough for a church and a school. And then initially we could use the church to house the school, and and big enough properties that we could establish a school as well. The meeting that was approved, they said, all right, let's do this. Let's start looking. Let's get this school. And then there was talk about, okay, we need students. And our daughter Ingrid piped up. She was only recently married, and she said to her husband at the end of the meeting, let's go. We'll make some children for the new. And that so sticks with me. It was such a, let's go home and make some children for the new school.
I sort of came involved with the board as well, and I sort of said to the board, well, to start a school, we need to start a school. We need to get property. We need to get some land so we can have a school. My initial job on the school board was, I said, look, I'll be the seeker of land. I'll go and look for property and where we can establish a school. We looked at so many properties, all over, mainly in the Brisbane area, and every time we saw a property that may have been suitable, there were just roadblocks. There were just, no, look, you're going to have to pay a fortune for this. You're going to have to spend headworks. You're going to have to do infrastructure. It was like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it was just not feasible. So we had some sites, some amazing sites, We had even where the guide dogs are at the moment at Bald Hills. That was one site that we'd looked at and seriously looked at. There's other places at Zilmere, Albany Creek, and other areas that we looked at, and all were no good. And then the Bray Park, Young's Crossing Road, Bray Park came up. 8 acres, horse track, lovely old couple that owned it, Italian couple that owned it, and so how about that? And we looked at it, and it was starting to. The boxes were being ticked off. It was good. We ultimately, obviously, entered into a contract to buy this property, 8 acres on Young's Crossing Road, and then we needed to work out how we're going to pay for it. That's when the next hurdle came along. But then, God blessed us tremendously with that. We had donations from many people. We had good fundraising on the ground as well, and we're able to do it. Plus a proposal was ultimately put forward to the church. Well, do you want to partner with us? And that was a big turning point for us. That's where we went into a partnership arrangement with the church, where they were to sell their property and then move their church to this site. And that sort of made the whole thing possible, where we could purchase this property. Yeah.
Well, I grew plenty of plants, and then we had a plant store once a month. I was better at making a cake than that, but we also had some ladies who was very good at knitting and sewing. So we usually had plants, cake, and craft.
People offered their skills, they offered their time. There was a clockman who was an electrician. He did the electrical work, while Frank did the engineering and the architectural drawings, and all these people just offered their time. People came and offered labouring work.
I was at the meeting then where they suggested names, and there was only very few names came up. And then Ingrid van der Woude, she came up with the name Genesis. She said, Genesis is the beginning of the Bible, she said, and we are at the beginning of a new era here. Everybody was very happy to stick to the name Genesis Christian College.
First day of school, very nerve-wracking because everything we had borrowed, or not begged, but we had to borrow a lot of things. So everything was second-hand. We had the principal and one teacher, Shayne at the time.
So there was Bob Van Veen, who was principal at Calvin in Tasmania. So he came up to be the principal, and then I came up as the first teacher. So he taught years 4 to 7, and I taught years 1 to 3. We had one demountable, and that was split into 2 classrooms. Very basic, but very functional. And then, of course, as you've heard, we've had the toilets were horse stables, transferred into toilets, and I think a very simple playground, and the rest was bush, and the kids had great fun.
The first teacher that I can remember was Jane Nyhouse, or Miss Nyhouse as I remember her. She, in my mind, was the perfect example of an amazing teacher. She was kind and gentle and nurturing, and I remember we did a lot of class outside, and she was really attentive to us kids.
We were housed in the church. There was 2 demountables, so I was a teaching principal. I taught for 3 days and taught a composite, and then 2 days for being principal. And there were petitions up in the church during the week, and the staff was so dedicated. They sacrificed financially. On Friday afternoons, they would pack up everything and put it away so that the church could meet. On Sundays, the board members who sacrificed their mortgages. And it was the family feel, the vision, and they never swayed. Nothing was beyond their reach. They didn't even see the finance, they didn't even see the cost. They knew that God had a vision for this school. The vision, the sacrifice and the commitment of the families of those first students was amazing, because we had people who said, you're not going to make it, you don't have the resources, you don't have the equipment. It was an amazing first 2 years. The teaching staff wrote all the curriculum. They would spend weekends here. They were pioneering days. They built their own equipment. They bought the equipment out of their own pocket money.
Sports days and sporting carnivals, and parents would come at the crack of dawn and help set things up, and cross countries where you'd have parents dotted around the neighbourhood, because that's what our cross country track was. We would leave the oval and run around the oval once, and then leave the school grounds and out into the streets and kind of like around the block a couple of times. And so you'd have parents dotted around the streets waiting for kids to go past and making sure they all went past. So they really pitched in a lot.
Quite often I'd be back here till 6, 7, sometimes 8 o'clock at night, because Mum was just trying to finish off and get the job done, which was, I think, a theme that carried through a lot of the staff back then. It was just everyone was really sort of mission focused, and didn't have a lot, but it was just about getting the job done and serving.
It really did feel like a family. I knew all the teachers by their first name, and you could go and snuggle up in somebody's classroom and read some books at the end of the day if you just needed a break. I
have positive memories of the teachers. I don't know if the teachers have very positive memories of me, so sorry to primary teachers if I was a bit of a ratbag, but I know Mr. Best probably didn't have very fond memories of me the time I took the classroom bird home from the weekend, and it never returned because I thought it wanted to fly around at the pergola at home and never came back.
We had planned for it to be an 800 student school. Probably because our site was sort of smaller and maybe that was a limiting factor, but it was always in our head that it was sort of like 800, but to get to sort of 1,500, 1,600 was like, oh, amazing. No, we'd never sort of envisaged that, but yeah, obviously God had other plans. So.
Big time.
Until we moved into the building that we're in now, we actually moved every single year. We moved 13 times. So in the early days, a lot of my fond memories too were of my dad, who's no longer with me, but he always used to come down and help us shift, like we'd load all the books into the boot of the car and drive it over the other side of the school, and just things like that were just what you do when the school's young and you're just working towards what it's become today.
For me, I think it's the sense of community. I think whether it was the pool or the dance and drama academies, the childcare centre, it became a community, the Genesis community. I think it was always there, but with growth, there was the challenge of people remembering it as a small school and what was going to be lost. I don't think any of that got lost. I think there's still, I see the Facebook page of the parents, there's still a strong sense of community and the things that they value.
Yeah, I think you only have to look around to see God's obvious blessing on the college. I always like to look at the aerial shots over the years because you just see the way in which the college kind of grew and the way the facilities expanded and now today, I mean, the facilities are just amazing. But it's not just about the facilities, I think it's about the reputation of the college as well. I think Genesis is a school that parents want to send their kids to. They know they're going to get a great education, they're going to have great opportunities, and they know they're going to have their character formed as well and ultimately be introduced to Christ, which is why we do what we do and what we want to continue to do into the future.
From those early days, Genesis desired to be a school of care, a space of acceptance, a space that would clearly teach the principles of God's Word to the next generation coming through. And that is front and centre as a part of our vision for our college today. And we have such a wonderful opportunity to continue to nurture and develop and equip our young people for their future.
I think it goes back to the founders. This place was founded in prayer, it was dedicated to the Lord, and God has been amazing. People can look at the campus and think, oh, that's a rich school, and it was said to me many times. But it's never been a rich school. It's been rich in blessings. And I think that's because people have remained faithful and humble before the Lord about what's been achieved here.
Yeah, it's really special to have my son start next year. He's in Little Genesis at the moment, but he's already excited and talking about going to Big Genesis next year. And I guess to have my parents involved in founding the college and then to go through the college myself, and now to have my son go along, it's a wonderful legacy, and I'm just really excited that he gets to enjoy some of the benefits of the hard work and the sacrifices that were invested, and now he gets to have a really wonderful Christ-centred quality education, which I'm really excited about.
It's just almost a miracle that we've gone from that to this in just 30 years. And you think, I couldn't have done it without the prayer and the support and God's blessing. It rained down on this school, and you feel that. I did a tour 25, 27 years ago for 10 minutes. I do a tour these days that can take an hour and a half, 2 hours because of the amazing things that you see. But they're still essentially the same amazing things. God's blessing on Christian education.